As I said, it is election day in America, and although we are still a year away from the next presidential race, there are several important local races that have wide-reaching national impacts. Ohio voters, for instance, are coming out in droves to decide on a constitutional amendment that would guarantee an individual right to abortion and other reproductive health care rights. But Ohio isn't the only place holding elections today. We're also following key races in Kentucky, Virginia, and others. CBS News' Shanelle Kaul has more.
Voters lined up in Columbus, Ohio Tuesday morning, where they're weighing whether women should have the legal right to an abortion. The ballot measure known as Issue 1 seeks to enshrine reproductive rights in the state's constitution. The proposal would only allow the state to ban abortion after viability, which doctors generally consider to be around 22 to 24 weeks, except when it's necessary to protect the life and health of the mother.
I think it's important as women to keep, fighting for our rights, and I feel like Issue 1 is for our rights.
But opponents of Issue 1 say it is dangerous to have abortion rights in the state constitution.
I just believe that every life has meaning, regardless of how young they are, how old they are.
Abortion rights is also a key issue in the Kentucky governor's race, where incumbent Democrat Andy Beshear is facing Republican challenger Daniel Cameron. Cameron voted Tuesday morning in the closely watched race.
We're going to have a new governor on November 7th here in Kentucky. We got a lot of good things going. We got to win this race to keep them going.
Hold the House and flip the Senate.
In Virginia, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin urged people to vote with all 140 General Assembly seats on the ballot. He's looking for a GOP lock on the state house, but Virginia Democrats say giving Republicans full control will lead to rollbacks of voting rights.
They've taken us backwards on reproductive health care. They're taking us backwards on gun violence prevention. That is their goal.
Political watchers say a strong showing for Republicans in Virginia could boost Youngkin's prospects as a late entry into the 2024 presidential race. Shanelle Kaul, CBS News, New York.
Well, Kentucky's gubernatorial race is one of the most closely watched races happening today. Incumbent Democratic Governor Andy Beshear is facing off with the state's sitting Republican Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Cameron is also the first major party black nominee for governor in the state's history. We're going to bring in CBS News political reporter Taurean, who's following the race. Good to see you, Taurean. So what's the latest and how close is this race? I remember being there in Kentucky, and Governor Beshear was quite popular after the tornadoes.
Yeah, so all of those things could be true, Lilia. We see that, Andy Beshear is still enjoying quite the popularity, especially among conservative voters in this state. But this race is starting to tighten up a bit, and that's quite evident in recent polling as well that shows that both of these candidates are essentially in a dead heat. But a source familiar with the Beshear campaign tells me that they're not sweating that too much, considering that he's used to these very close races. In fact, he won his 2019 bid by just 5,000 votes.
So, one of the issues that we've been discussing, especially in Ohio, but I know that also in Kentucky is quite relevant, is abortion rights and the battle over abortion rights. How does that play a role in this race?
Yeah, Lilia, it depends on who you ask out here. So according to the Beshear campaign, they think that that'll be a pivotal part in his re-election bid here. He believes that Democrats are out to continue to keep up the momentum from the 2022 amendment, the ballot initiative there that pretty much rejected strict abortion rules throughout the state. But according to the Daniel Cameron's campaign, that is, they don't think that that'll play much of an issue, especially looking back at that vote. The measure only lost by about 2 percentage points. It's not like it was an overwhelming majority that rejected that measure, so he thinks that that won't be a major issue. I talked to quite a few voters coming out of the polls today. None of them mentioned abortion first. One Catholic Democrat did say that she still supports abortion rights, which is why she voted for Beshear, but quite a few other members said that, or voters said that they weren't really thinking too much about that.
Interesting. So I know that, or I've read that Beshear seems to be distancing himself from President Biden. Of course, the Latest polling from CBS News shows him trailing behind former President Donald Trump if the election were to be held right now today. Why is that strategy helping him, and how far is he veering away from the president?
Well, it was noticeable in his final rally yesterday, in-person rally in Louisville. About 100 people showed up to that event, and not one mention of the current president, Joe Biden. And partly because he is wildly unpopular here in Kentucky. He lost to Donald Trump in 2020 by about 20-something points. So it makes sense that Bashir is distancing himself. But the Cameron campaign is looking to tether the two. Bashir has, again, been very popular with voters, with Trump supporting Republican voters. So Cameron's trying to make the link that a vote for Bashir is a vote for Biden next year.
All right, Taurean Small, thank you. As we've been mentioning, a key issue being considered in some of today's election, abortion rights. Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, as you can see, is here in Studio 57 with more. Anthony, so Ohio voters will decide on the legality of abortion within their state constitution, or abortion being protected in their state constitution. What does the latest poll from CBS News say on how that issue is going to play out in Ohio?
Well, that's one big reason why everybody's watching Ohio, right? It's just a state, but if people are watching around the country, I can tell you, and I'll show you in a second, our national poll shows that there's a lot of concern about the implications of abortion restrictions on what that has to do with maternity care and women's health care. But before I get there, let me show you how this is going to play out tonight when folks tune in and watch us. Polls will close in Ohio at 7:30 Eastern Time. And then it's going to be a tale of two races, by which I mean this. I'm showing you right now the map of Ohio from 2020. This is when Donald Trump won Ohio comfortably, because frankly, Republicans often win Ohio these days. It is a Republican-leaning state. See all this red? Those are counties Donald Trump won, a couple of pockets for Joe Biden around the cities. But there was a referendum in Ohio that a lot of people thought would be a sort of proxy vote for this. Took place in August. And it was where they were going to try to amend their constitution to make it harder to amend their constitution. And people thought that was going to be a big proxy for this abortion fight, because that would have made it harder for tonight's amendment to pass. Well, look at what happened here. The no side was considered the pro-abortion rights side, and it won, right? And in all of these counties, and the red ones were the place where the pro-abortion side won. In these counties, there was a shift. 8, 9, 10, sometimes as many as 12, 13, 14 points from that Donald Trump vote. So tonight, when people watch, it's going to be, and you'll hear me talk about this, which of those two races looks like it's more in play? The 2020 more Republican vote, where Republicans have been more inclined to be against abortion rights, right? Or this summer's threshold vote, where the pro-abortion rights side saw that shift.
Wow. I mean, it's fascinating because in Ohio, there's been such effective messaging around the importance of protecting abortion rights from those who are pro-abortion rights. And perhaps that explains that. Let's talk about nationwide. How overarching is the sentiment towards abortion when we're speaking nationally? I was talking to an expert when doing the story we aired yesterday on trans rights, and he was saying, look, the abortion battle was won by the right in the Supreme Court. Now the right is moving to a different issue. How important is abortion for voters?
It's more motivating for Democrats. Democrats tell you that they will come out to vote on this issue. We saw this empirically in 2022 in the midterms, when an otherwise favorable environment for Republicans turned into a close race because a lot of Democrats were voting on abortion. So they've got all that. They're watching that again in Ohio as a proxy for some of that. But look at these sentiments to your question. Among women, thinking that, this is nationwide, reproductive health care is getting harder by almost 4-to-1, 3-to-1 over easier right now in the wake of changes after Roe v. Wade. Okay. So that's something that we want to watch, because you want to see not just whether there's views on abortion that people vote on, and then, of course, those can be very nuanced. But I'll flip to another slide here, and I'll show you. You also see that women telling us they feel that being pregnant as a result has become more dangerous as a result of all this. That's the implications as Americans see it, as a majority of Americans see it, coming out of this. And that in turn becomes politically one of the things that Democrats are putting in their messaging.
And you can expect, I mean, the storytelling is starting to come out in places where the abortion bans had been fought in the courts and now they're taking place. And there's all of this, chilling effect. Doctors are leaving. So I understand this.
Yeah.
How might these stances on abortion impact who gets elected as a candidate, and how is the messaging changing? Because we've heard from some Republicans who might have been favoring the 6-week ban now moving towards the 24 or 23 or 15 in some cases.
Well, some of the Republican messaging on this has been, well, what is the limit, right? What are those weeks? And the Democratic messaging has been what you talked about right here, concern that there's more risk, concern about maternity care centers disappearing or hospitals closing. Those are the two combating messages out of this. But the other factor here for both parties is going to be, does this motivate people to show up? So the other factor here is going to be, at what percentage of, say, the 2020 presidential vote actually turns out in Ohio? Because what Democrats are going to look for is say, okay, if that number approaches 2020, then that means they'll say their messaging is effective on this. Whereas Republicans, when we talk to them in polls, to your point, they often say it's not as important now. It's not something they want to talk about now. Not necessarily a motivating factor for voting either, in part because so many of them got the policy that they had wanted.
Yeah, we'll hear probably a lot of abortion talk from the current president as it seems to be so galvanizing. Anthony, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We will have full coverage of election night. First up, a special edition of America Decides at 5 p.m. Eastern, and then coverage continues at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can stream it all here on CBS News.